So we just finished, Sandra, our big 2015 countdown to Kansas City NWSL recap. KC wins, the now defunct FC KC wins 1-0 over Seattle Reign. And we thought, you know what? We're talking about these games. You and I are rewatching them before we get into it. But what would be better than having someone who was at that game talk about it? No, scratch that. Even better, someone that played in that game. No, Sandra, I will one-up you again. Someone who got the game-winning assist in 2015 in Kansas City on the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Drum roll, please. Midfielder Heather O'Reilly joins attacking third. Heather, welcome in. How are you?
Thank you, ladies. It's nice to be here. And hey, anytime I can talk about the glory days, I will do so.
Gotta get it in. Gotta get it in. Gotta let the youth know.
You do a lot of media, and I'm sure people talk about some of the other accolades you have, and they don't always lead off with 2015 NWSL Championship assister to the game-winning goal, because there is a lengthy list. You've got the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup champion, 3-time Olympic gold medalist. You won the College Cup with UNC a couple of times. You won NWSL championship 3-time, the Shield 2-time. The list goes on and on and on. But we're talking about the 2015 NWSL championship with FC Kansas City. What do you remember about that match?
Yeah, well, I remember it really well. I guess I'll rewind a little bit and just talk about why it was meaningful to me. Of course, I love winning stuff, no doubt, but I had been playing with the Boston Breakers for a number of years before that. And truthfully, it was a tough time of my life just because, yeah, the Boston Breakers were not that good. And then we made a coaching change with Jill Ellis coming into the national team, and things were like very up in the air for a lot of people, including myself. And so it just was, I wasn't at a good place playing with Boston. So I essentially orchestrated a trade. And I was pretty much up for just going anywhere where I would feel valued and in a healthy playing environment. And Vlatko and company at FC Kansas City just came off a win of their own. And they were like, okay, in order for us to keep winning, we need to add layers. And so it was the perfect fit because I needed a new place. They needed some fresh, ingredients to their concoction that they had. And so, yeah, like what a perfect marriage. And we had just an absolute blast in 2015. I still am very close with Vlatko and Anofsky. We always kind of hit it off as a player-coach duo, and then playing with Becky Sauerbrunn and Amy Rodriguez, who were also on the national team at that time. And we said in the beginning of the year, we're going for the double. And at that point, for us, that meant the World Cup and winning for club and country. For us was the ultimate double in one season. And we did it. And I remember after the game, like the three of us are hugging and Cheney. How can I forget about Lauren Cheney? Wait, she was on that team, right? Yeah.
Lauren Holiday. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Lauren Holiday. So A-Rod, Cheney, Holiday, Becky, and myself. So we did the ultimate double. The game itself, though, I remember well because Seattle was quite good. They, of course, had Megan Rapinoe. They had Hope Solo. It was like a punch-for-punch kind of game. And, yeah, late in the match, for whatever reason, I made my way over to the left-hand side and lofted in across to A-Rod. She doesn't tend to head the ball that much. And I don't cross with my left too much. But anyways, it was a left-footed cross to an Amy Rodriguez head, past Hope Solo, and it was enough for us to hang on. But it was a tough match, definitely. And Kim Little was on the team. She was obviously such a threat. But yeah, it was a thrilling win. It was a thrilling win and capped off a good year for us. I know that Amy Rodriguez and myself didn't play very much in the World Cup. So I think that coming back from that, we were really sort of driven to make an impact at the club level. And we did just that with winning the NWSL title.
Subtle.
Yeah,
just no big deal. I appreciate you being so kind of open and transparent about sort of your arrival to Kansas City, because that's part of, I think, why we're enjoying this particular series that we're doing on A3, where we're kind of revisiting these very early championship moments, because there's rightfully so a lot of celebrating of the direction of where the league is now going versus where it's been. But it's important to not forget about where it's been, because there were pockets of that time where it was not so great, as you mentioned. So can maybe kind of staying with that a little bit, could you maybe speak a little bit more to kind of that arrival from Boston to Kansas City? How much of it for you was like a fresh start or a new opportunity? How much of it was maybe even more of the same? Because maybe there was layers of that too when you're going from franchise to franchise in these early eras of NWSL.
Well, you know, anybody that knows Vlatko knows that, like, he's known for being like a nice guy, a good guy that at the club level, we can say what we want about obviously his tenure with the national team, but at the club level was just steady, and something I needed at the time, steady, and the team was very solid, right? So I think I'm not a Midwest kind of gal. Like, I am East Coast through and through. And there was a brief stint in like Southern California when the U.S. national team was based there. But like in general, like I know nothing about the middle of America, and I didn't even care, because I was just like, I'm here for the football. Literally, I'm like, it was a World Cup year. It was really important for me to like get wins and get goals and assists and make sure that I make the World Cup team. Was a big priority for me. And so I was just like, I don't care if I don't know anything about this city. I know that Vlatko's, has a good reputation and good players on the team. And so, my husband, Dave, was just like, okay, I'm not going to move to Kansas City, but I'll come visit as much as I can. And we'll obviously work it out. And at that point, like, of my career, it's like, that things are just temporary, right? So I was very much just going for the season and just going for the football. And yeah, a bit of a fresh start. Boston was a cool I don't want to disrespect the Midwest, but like Boston was like this cool city. I would go to the Red Sox games, all this stuff, but the football wasn't good. It was like crazy town over there. It was like just not a stable, healthy environment. So I just opted for normality and a good environment, a good, healthy environment.
Yeah, I get that. There's like a million different ways I can go with this, but you touched on Vlatko there a lot, Vlatko Adanovsky a lot, because he was coach of the year in the NWSL previously with FC Kansas City. He goes on to win it in 2014 and 2015 with you on the squad there. And now he's back in Kansas City. And looking at kind of his character arc from the early days of NWSL to now 2024 being back in the league, how have you seen him evolve as a coach?
Oh, big time. It's been a real honor, I think, to play under Vlatko Adanovsky and now to be sort of, I would say, his friend and somewhat of a peer now, because I think that he's a good character. He's a good character. And early days FCKC, I remember asking, I'm like, who's this Macedonian coaching staff that you guys have? He was very unknown, very like kind of random. And Becky and Nicole Barnhart and all of those guys and Lauren Holiday were like, no, we like Vlatko. Like, he's solid. He's good. Training sessions are good. Knows the game. Nice man. And so I remember being like, I was a little judgy on this like Macedonian coaching staff that hadn't really worked with women's football and had been coaching indoor in Kansas City. I was a little skeptical, but then, very quickly he started to get a very good reputation from the players, and that obviously spreads throughout the league. But so I think early days he was kind of like this unknown. Then he became very established and respected. And he freaking went for it. Anybody that is gutsy enough to follow up, what Jill Ellis did with the national team was incredible. I mean, back-to-back World Cup wins, right? So it's a big post. It's a big spot for any coach to take on. And I give Vlatko a ton of credit for taking on a big challenge. And that's, win or bust, as we know with the U.S. women's national team. And he came away with, a bronze medal at the Olympics, and then an early exit from the World Cup. So that was, I'm sure, super difficult, but he's never shied from, just challenging things. And I appreciate that. And I know that, for instance, I have a radio show called Played In. And earlier in the season, I said, Vlatko, please come on and talk about your time with the national team and talk about now transitioning back to the NWSL. And he respectfully answered. He was just like, I'll talk after the season. I am so head down focused on, and he didn't say that it's a personal vendetta, right? Or a personal, what's the word? I guess
vengeance almost.
Yeah. A vengeance on making things right and clearing his name sort of.
Yeah.
He sort of alluded to that. And so he's definitely on a mission to be back on the winning side because, he fell short with the U.S. women's national team, but he is a very, very good coach. Mm-hmm. And so in terms of his growth, I would definitely say, early days, he didn't know how to deal with women. He didn't know how to deal with leaders. I remember him and Lauren Holiday butted heads a lot. And I think that he has learned to lean on his leaders and lean on, to have a couple people in your corner. I know that he did that with Megan Rapinoe at his time at Seattle. And he had a big roster of characters with the U.S. women's national team that I know that he tried to manage. And so I think that he's really, really grown in that regard. One thing that's different about him this season is his willingness to go full throttle offense and bleed a lot of goals, because historically with Kansas City, we were so stingy to get scored on, probably because we didn't have Showinga, game. So I would say that is basically I'm saying that I think he's less conservative as a manager and more willing to kind of go for it because listen, he fell short, right, at the World Cup and a lot of criticism. And he's still here. He's still alive. He failed and got back up. And I think that that's sort of failure, I guess, just shows any coach that that was hard, but I'm going to be okay. And I've picked myself up off hard things before and let's just go for it.
Yeah. Defensively, Kansas City is, they're okay conceding when you're scoring 46 goals already.
Yeah.
Okay. But
the score lines are bananas. This is so unlike Vlatko, to be honest.
Insane.
I love that you mentioned maybe some of the change, perhaps maybe of coaching principles then versus now, how we're seeing him lean into a little bit of the full throttle. Because bringing it back to the 2015 championship, one of the things that has stood out for me in going back down memory lane with some of these games is the type of soccer that we see in the early eras of NWSL. There's a level of physicality that is still here presently in the league, but it's different. There was almost an over reliance on it at times. And it sort of felt like in this version of the championship final, which was a sequel to 2014 where Seattle and Kansas City went head to head. This one felt like there were definitely some moments of fisticuffs and getting close up and personal. Folks getting pushed off the ball. There's a moment in the game there where you all, in my opinion, correctly react to a non-penalty call on Tim Rack with a challenge there. Can you maybe speak a little bit to just some of the evolution of soccer, just the game in NWSL from this championship final to maybe how you've seen it grow to today's game?
Yeah, well, I think back in the day, back then, Laura Harvey and Vlatko were going punch to punch. They were the two big dogs in the NWSL, and our teams, I think both seasons were were, leading the table in a lot of different categories. So, and they were a really strong team. So I think that we, out of respect, just like wanted to be like number one, right? And Pino, we all know that Pino knew how to get under everybody's skin, like walking back to the mid-stripe like a turtle after scoring. Like she took so long to walk back to the mid-stripe. He just understands the gamesmanship. And then on the other side, like if she needs to speed up the game, we've all seen Pino like whipping a throw in before anybody else is set. Like she just understood the game and she understood the entertainment behind it. So I think, we were ready for battle, but they definitely had a couple of characters that were able to get under their skin if we allowed them. In terms of the level of play, I definitely think, the game has obviously evolved, like something like playing out on goal kicks, right? Like we didn't really do that before because it was a FIFA rule. Like you couldn't have a teammate receive the ball in the box, right? So that has, I think, really changed the game in terms of an obsession with possession, an obsession with build-up play, less reliance on going long on goal kicks, for instance, and then like a little bit of the scrap of first and second balls, and then just kind of things like that, I think, elevate the bite in the game when the ball's in the air a lot. So of course, like the ball is probably not in the air as much these days, and the pass count is higher and things like that. I think that a lot of teams are willing to sit back and play counterattack football and respect the other team's build out. I'm still like kind of a fan of just blitzing and like sprinting at the back. And, for one, 4 times out of 5, they'll break the pressure and we'll have to deal with that. But the 1 time out of 5 that it works is super dangerous. So if I was a coach in the NWSL, I would still be pressing high up the field with everybody and just going for the throat. But I'm not. And
be careful what you joke about. There's a couple open positions right now that people are going to be hearing this and giving you calls.
Okay. Well, all the GMs that are like, I want to play a high press team too. Like, call me, I guess.
Absolutely. Give the plug. Give the plug.
But I think that has changed with Vlatko as well. Like, he's down for a quick counterattack now. And again, like you have Chowinga on your team, like you do that. You play to your strengths.
One of a big difference now, right, in football is that a lot of players play a lot of different positions, whether it's left side, right side. I'm recalling back to the 2015 NWSL championship. You were on the right wing and like absolutely dominating, crushing it, getting end line, sending crosses in, cutting it back, playing short. But the goal comes when you're on the left. There's like 2 minutes in this match when you're on the left wing. How did you end up over there?
I remember Vlatko got this question in an interview after, and he said that he was like to be like a tactical wizard, that he meant to do it. But I think, as any winger knows, like sometimes if you're just not feeling the vibe, like getting the love, getting the goals, connecting on things, you just kind of mix it up and head to the other side, just kind of see a different matchup. And I believe that they just made a substitute.
There was an
on that left-hand side. So I think I kind of like smelled blood a little bit, and I was just like, I'm just going to try on the left for a little while. And I forget if it was Temrek or who it would have been on that side, but we just kind of organically were able to switch sides. But it was more out of just like, I'm a little bit of an ADD brain, and I probably just wanted to like spice it up and try a different opponent and a different angle and things like that. But I was able to get down to that left-hand side and float one in to A-Rod, like I said. Yeah, no, it was chef's kiss. It was chef's kiss. That was we were very, very, very pumped after that game, of course, because I think everybody says like, okay, they did it once. Can they do it again? And to win back-to-back in the NWSL is really hard. You guys might know how many teams have done it. We did it with North Carolina, but I don't think it's been done too many times. Maybe Portland also went back-to-back. But it's hard. It's really, really, really challenging. So I know that Vlatko is thrilled, and I can't claim to have done it twice in a row because I wasn't on their team the first year, but to be able to help them to their second year. And Vlatko he tells a funny story that after their first win, they, it wasn't, so glitzy and glamoury. They just went to Buffalo Wild Wings after the game. And I guess Vlatko was, of course, like talking to his GM, this guy named Hugh Williams, who's my homie now, like we stay in touch. And they said like, okay, we've won once. How are we going to do it again? That was me trying to do Vlatko.
I love it. Over a plate of like spicy garlic. I love that. Like
they're at Buffalo Wild Wings, and they get kind of word that like I was looking for a new team, essentially, literally when they're at Buffalo Wild Wings. And he shows the phone to like Hugh Williams and was like, we need Heyo. Heyo is going to be the difference so we can get back here again. And if I was able to contribute with that, I'm pretty proud of it. Good memories. Thank you for bringing me down.
I love it. Thank you to B-Dubs for making it.
Club and Country for the win. That was good stuff.
Love it.
Heyo, you said that about yourself. You call yourself Heyo. There's some nicknames out there for you. Gail, Gayo, Heyo. How'd you get these? I gotta ask.
Okay. Well, to be clear, Gayo is not like really a public nickname. I wouldn't say Heyo is, and then, we're all a little gay sometimes. Some people are gay a lot of the time. So I don't know. Gayo is just what my friends call me when I'm acting a little gay. But Heyo is actually my initials, Heather Ann O'Reilly. And that started as like back in the day with AOL screen names. Soccer HAO was my name. And I had a coach that just kept calling me Heyo. And then it just kind of became my soccer nickname. I wouldn't say that like my husband calls me Heyo or like my parents, but people in soccer definitely do. And then of course,
I love it.
And then, actually what happened with Gayo was, Pino and Lori Lindsay, they would all like just call me Gayo if I was wearing like a gayer outfit or something like that.
You walked out with your best boots and flannel one day.
Yeah, exactly. If I was wearing my flannel, they'd be like, what's up, Gayo? I'm like, hi. So one time when we were playing for Pia Sundhage, they were like, Pia, when you introduce the teams, we were playing 11-a-side, can you introduce Heyo as Gayo? And she was like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. Like, okay, I'll do it. And so the girls were so excited as the teams were being announced. And then Pia, I think, got like cold feet or like forgot what she was doing and pronounced it Gow.
Yep.
And then, and then everybody, wait, who's Gow?
Yep.
and then there was like this Chinese goalkeeper back in the day that was named like Gao something. And then somebody from the back was like, who's Gao? And then somebody's like, isn't that the Chinese goalkeeper? And then Lori and Pino were just like, oh my gosh, this is all
the prank went south, but somehow got better.
And then here's me just being like, wait, what team am I on?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Who do I go to? Am I dark?
Speaking of
that, that was that, but
yeah.
That's where that one was born. Yeah.
Speaking of like what team you're on, we started this episode talking about so many of your accomplishments, which was why we had to nominate you to our Hall of Legends. So welcome and thank you once again. But you've won so much stuff, and you've also been a part of so many teams. And part of why we also were so excited to nominate you to the A3 Hall was that we thought we were gonna get to see you in an NWSL game one more time. Could you maybe sort of to close out the interview, could you talk about how signing a one-day contract with Gotham came to light, and why did it fall just short for you?
Yeah, what a bust. Okay, so here's the whole story. So I'm literally on a family vacation at the beach in North Carolina, and my husband Dave and I were like, all right, clear your schedule for the week. Like, let's try to be off screen. We have 2 little sons, William and Jack, so obviously just try not to do any work stuff. But then I get a call, actually a text from Gotham, the Gotham operations person, saying basically, long story short, because we can't play our Olympians, there was a certain window of time after the Olympics that they couldn't play them, and they were riddled with injury. So they were essentially just super thin for this friendly match that was scheduled against Chelsea. They're like, Heather, and I'm good friends with Yael Averbush. She knows that I'm always like reasonably fit.
Call back to that 2015 NWSL championship. She was on the game.
Oh yeah, she was there. So listen, I play pickup with like guys in Chapel Hill like a couple times a week. I'm running a marathon this weekend. Like I'm always active and reasonably fit and ready to go. Like I love football. Some people hang up their boots and like truly hang them up. Like I hang them up and I pick them up like the next week. Like I've always said, I'm a footballer, like always. Like it's not like closing the chapter was like, I struggled with this for a while. At first I was just like, yeah, I got to close this chapter. And then I'm just like, no, I'm not going to close the chapter. I am a footballer. I'm just not a professional footballer anymore, but I'll always be a footballer. And I think that was a real important nuance change that I made like after retirement, because obviously we all have our like identity issues that we deal with. Anyway, so Elle knows that I'm always a footballer. Like I'm always going to be down to throw the boots on and play. Obviously, 39 might not have the speed and explosion that I have anymore, but I was capable enough that Gotham called me up to fill out their bench against Chelsea. And Dave was like kind of like irritated because he's like, I thought this was family vacation. How many times? This is what people say, like, how many times are you going to retire? And I'm like, it doesn't compute in my head because I'm a footballer. So I'm like, well, I'm always a footballer. So I don't know what you want me to say. But in terms of come back to the NWSL, I was ready to do it. So, okay, they called me up and they're like, we need you here for the game. It's in 48 hours. The weather that time of the summer was terrible on the East Coast.
Storms and everything.
I'm battling. So we're booking flights. Things are getting canceled. I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to make it. Then I figure out how to make it. I like do this heroic drive to Raleigh, get on this flight, have to get the flight to JFK, take a car from JFK. It's literally like an episode of Amazing Race.
I'm just battling in and of itself.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're like, we need you to take a blood test and an EKG before getting to the stadium. When you get to the stadium, you'll do your concussion protocol. And then like, literally I was like pressing it against game time. And I was like, okay, so I'm shuffling around all these doctor's appointments. And then unfortunately, Gotham announces that I'm going to be playing. My phone is blowing up. It's like hilarious. I'm like, yeah, she's back, baby. Yeah. And then I get my blood drawn, have to go to this other place for my heart test. And as a lot of athletes are aware of, sometimes your heart test just comes back a little bit funky. Obviously this is not something to like joke about, but it's also not something that I'm like overly concerned about because this has happened before. Like I just have like an arrhythmia or an irregular heartbeat. And a lot of athletes have this because you like literally change the shape of your heart after like decades of like hard fitness. And so I basically got like red flagged that my result came up funny. And if I had more time, like one more day, I would have been able to get the proper like echocardiogram that they like needed. But to their credit, like they took it very seriously and they were like, we're sorry, we're not going to allow you to play. And I was like, listen, I think I'm going to play 5 minutes. Yeah. Maybe actually Juan Carlos Amaro said that he was thinking more like 30. But anyways, so then they got the news that they weren't going to like pass me. So literally I go to the stadium. Everybody was like so pumped. And I'm like, yeah, bad news. I didn't pass the heart test. And they're like, oh man. I mean, Juan Carlos Amaros was so sweet because he was like, I'm sure he was disappointed because now that was the whole point of me coming. Right. Yeah. And so then they had to like play some players that probably were a little bit injured or whatever. But they had the jersey made up for me. I sat in the pregame that like, they were like, no, just sit. And listened to the pregame, and everybody was kind of like womp womp, like a little bit. And I stayed there for the match. I wanted to catch up with like
everyone's hopes were so high to see you return.
It was an epic fail. It was an epic fail.
It wasn't a fail.
They had a game in October that they said for me to be ready for.
There you go. There you go.
Let's go. Absolutely. Well, Heather, because of all of that happened at Attacking Third, we have a Hall of Legends. And when you made the thing and then you didn't make the team and this and that, we still named you as our first ever inductee into the A3 Hall of Legends. So I have an honorary trophy for you.
Oh, I love that.
Congratulations on being inducted into the Attacking Third Hall of Legends.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be the first. The first? Are you guys sure about that?
The first ever. First ever. Congratulations.
Okay, but you could like choose like Mia Hamm, and you could choose like
we chose you.
I mean,
honestly, the Gotham game might have done it for us. We were kind of like, "There's no way."
So excited to come out of retirement, even though you're never retired as a football.
Not retired.
You're not retired.
Now you know.
Heather, thank you so much for this. We love diving deep into the 2015 NWSL final with you, hearing about everything that you're up to. You talked about how you're running a marathon this weekend. So congrats. Good luck. You're absolutely going to crush it.
Thank you.
You touched on Played In, a radio show you host with Lori Lindsay, but what else are you up to these days? Where can people find you, follow you? Give us all the plugs.
Yeah. So I'm doing a variety of things right now. Obviously, I'm a mom of 2, so that takes up a little bit of mental energy. And I've also split some time doing some coaching stuff. But right now, I have a new job as the head of women's football for Como 1907, which is a club in Lake Como. So a beautiful part of the world that's looking to make a historic rise to Serie A. Right now we're in the 4th division. And so I was tasked with a immense challenge, but opportunity to rise from the depths of 4th division Italian women's football to be in Serie A. They've just done this on the men's side. Cesc Fabregas is the coach of the men's team. They're looking to do something very similar on the women's side. So I'm spending a lot of time and energy trying to build up this team. So
how's your Italiano?
I just had my second Italian lesson. Mi chiamo Heather.
Love it.
Heyo.
Go calcio. I play soccer.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
yeah,
Heather,
mangia pizza.
There you go.
Pizza, yes.
Don't we all?
That one.
See.
Thank you so much. Congrats on that. Congrats on everything. Listen to her on Played In Sirius XM. That's where people can find you.
Yep. 157, channel 157 on Monday nights. And also you can listen on the app all the time. But yes, thanks for that plug there, Lisa.
Of course. Follow her on Instagram, Twitter at Heather O'Reilly. Stay in touch. Cheer for her as she eventually will make her return, signing with the club one day. I know it. I know it's in your future.
We feel it.